Here's Todd Barkin, live from the Keystone Corner with your man, Time to Swing, Joseph Farnsworth, on music, Peter Bernstein. This Sunday, we have our last couple gigs here. What are the set times, Todd?
Set times tonight are at 5 p.m. and 7:30 for the Cobra Quartet.
NEA Jazz Masters, who've seen and heard it all. We'd like to talk about, I've been thinking about some old guys that you might have been around. Let's start with Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, that was the first concert I ever heard when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Louis Armstrong.
What was the impressions you had?
It was like sunshine, musical sunshine.
And how about Miles Davis?
Miles Davis was the only musician who ever gave the Keystone Corner back money. He actually refunded us $2,500.
Wow.
When he played there, and he played the original Keystone in 1974.
How about Lee Morgan?
Lee Morgan, I got to know Lee Morgan and meet him through Russ on Roland Kirk, and he was scheduled to play the Keystone in 1972, but he unfortunately got sidetracked by one of his wife's bullets.
Freddie Hubbard.
Freddie Hubbard was one of the great Keystone constituents. He played there about 25, 30 times. He was one of the great friends of the Keystone.
How about Donald Byrd?
Donald Byrd played the Keystone with both his quintet and the Blackbirds.
Would you have known anyone like Sweets Edison or Doc Cheatham or those guys?
Yeah, I got to meet both Sweets Edison and Doc Cheatham, and Sweets Edison was from Ohio, so I got to know him quite well.
Wow, great. And I was thinking of some bass players, one that just played here recently, Maestro Ron Carter.
Ron Carter is one of the main founding fathers of the Keystone Corner. He played here on our grand opening night, April 30th, 2019, and played the original Keystone about 15 times.
Wow.
And he's brought his trio here twice and his quartet with Rini Rosnes one time.
Wow. Yeah. Sam Jones.
Sam Jones, we call it Holmes. Holmes in your home. And he was one of the great foundations of our music and one of the sweetest human beings who ever lived. I mean, Holmes was, and as you know, he and Cedar Walton and Billy Higgins were like a pyramid of swing.
Yes, David Williams.
David Williams was a successor to Sam Jones with Cedar Walton, and you know, is still one of the swingingest musicians in the whole world.
A couple more. Tommy Flanagan.
Father, he got mad at me once, Tommy Flanagan, because I called him Geppetto, which was the father of Pinocchio.
Right.
But he looked just like Geppetto.
Right.
But he said only Dexter Gordon got to call him Geppetto. But he was one of the grand lyricists, one of the real poet laureates of the piano, Tommy Flanagan.
Hank Jones.
Hank Jones, no nicer guy and no greater musician has ever lived.
How about Teddy Wilson? Were you around for him?
I got to meet Teddy Wilson, and Teddy Wilson was when I was very, very young. And he, of course, is an important part of the history of jazz piano.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Is there anyone Sammy Davis Jr. you met, right?
I met Sammy Davis Jr. He came to Freddie Cole's session, and he put his hand around the door, and all of a sudden we smelled this strong cologne, and we saw 8 rings on his finger, and he comes through and he says, "You cats are swinging, man. You cats are swinging." And he stayed there for about 2 hours.
Is there anyone else that you'd like to pontificate about, or have we covered a good amount?
Well, no, one person, I mean, Miles was a lot nicer guy. I spent about 95% of my time with Miles Davis listening to music, because a lot of what's not discussed about Miles is that one of the greatest things about him was his ability as a listener. So most of the time I spent with Miles was listening to music, because he was one of the most intense listeners of all time. And that's a real centerpiece of his genius.
Yes, last two. How about Louis Hayes? He was just down here.
Louis Hayes is one of the kings of swing, and still always will be, always was, and always will be. He's one of the greatest living.
And also songs from our former neighborhood, Riverdale.
Oh yeah, he's still a Riverdalian.
He's a Dalian. And Roy Haynes.
Roy Haynes, no greater drummer in the history of our music.
Right.
He defines what this music is all about.
And last but not least, the great Barry Harris. What was your recollections on Barry?
Barry Harris, I got to go to the Cat House, what he called the Cat House. That was where he shared with Monk and the Countess, the house over in New Jersey. And I got to go there. I produced an album with Barry Harris, with George Mraz and Leroy Williams, called First Time Ever. And it was the first time that Barry ever played with George Mraz.
What was his nickname?
What?
George Mraz.
Sir Bounce-A-Lot, because it was a bad check. So we call him Sir Bounce-A-Lot.
And did you ever meet Monk?
Yeah, I got to meet Monk. Monk showed me he had a ring on, and it said M-O-N-K, and then it had Monk backwards underneath it. So he would go Monk, No. Monk? No. And
Whoa.
we did that about 6 times.
Wow.
He was relaxing at a sanatorium outside the Bay Area.
Wow.
And Dr. Henderson took me to meet him.
And what about Grant Green?
Grant Green used to say before every show, it says, "It's time to walk upon the sand."
Oh, really? That's who
Yeah,
said that?
that Grant Green that was his.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. If you had to put a group, an all-star group together through the history of your life, who would it be?
Oh, that's a hard one.
I know, but we gotta put you on the spot.
Well, we got to have Roy Haynes on drums.
Wow, that Roy's the call.
Roy's a call. Well, a call.
Okay,
You know,
well, okay,
This is
okay.
a hard one. This
Well,
is a hard
Mr.
one.
Roy, you can't go wrong with that.
I can't go on. And then I'd have Ray Brown on bass.
Okay, okay.
And I'd have Grant Green on guitar.
There you go.
And I'd have Tommy Flanagan on piano.
Okay, okay.
And I'd have Freddie Hubbard on trumpet.
Okay.
And I'd have Clifford Jordan on tenor saxophone. That'd
There
be
you
my
go.
band.
That's the Bartonian
The
All-Stars.
The Keystone All-Stars.
Well, brighter moments, Friday.